Hi, hello. It is April 30th, which means it's time for a new reading wrap up. I have to leave in like 40 minutes to go to craft club and book club tonight, so this is going to be a speed run. I read less books than I did last month, so I don't have to talk as much, but also I have talked about most of these in vlog clips that I just haven't gotten put together yet. So instead of giving you a big synopsis of all of these books, I am going to try and remember which ones I haven't talked about in my vlog and only do long talks for those. So, this month I read 9 books. Hang on, I didn't even grab my books. Hang on. 5 of those books are books that I physically own, although I probably did not physically read them entirely. I ended up checking a lot of these out from checking the audio out from Libby or Hoopla this month, and I think I had the ebook for one of them too, so I read it on my Kindle because that's easier for me to hold in bed. So the first book that I finished was You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria. I don't have the physical copy, so I'll put it up here. This book I gave 5 stars. It was a contemporary romance that focused on a telenovela star. So the main character is a telenovela star, and she's trying to be like a leading lady, and her leading guy that she's playing alongside is someone that her grandma and aunts and everyone are obsessed with because he's been in a lot of telenovelas for a long time. I really liked this. I liked the representation that it had, both in diverse characters and in like anxiety representation. I really enjoyed this, and I am hoping to continue the series. I didn't know it was a series when I read it, but now I do. The next book that I read was This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead, and I have to say I think this is my favorite of hers. I've read, I think, everything at this point, everything that she's put out. And this one I talked about a lot in vlogs, so I won't tell you too much about it, but this girl finds out that her dad is dead unexpectedly, and she ends up being really involved in the true crime underbelly of the internet. I gave this one 5 stars. I really loved it. I don't think it would be for everybody, and I definitely think you should check trigger warnings, especially if you have lost family members and grief is something that is hard for you to read about. I just looked up Ashley Winstead, and I have not read her romance, but I've read all of her thrillers, and I've liked all of her thrillers. I've given them all 4 and 5 stars. I can't say that I'm that interested in her romance, but maybe I'll pick it up someday. The next one that I finished was Ripe by Sarah Rose Etter. I should also mention that this and This Book Will Bury Me were on my 25 and 25, I'm pretty sure. I think this was on it. I talked about this one, but it is about a girl who is in corporate America and she kind of hates her life. And things just progressively get weirder and weirder and more unhinged throughout the book. I gave this one 5 stars as well. The next one I read, I listened to. It was A Prayer for the Crown Shy, and this also finished a series, so that's great for me. I listened to it when I was driving back from the airport. So I had like an hour and a half drive back from the airport one night after I got back from a conference. And I listened to this because I didn't want to listen to anything else. The other stuff I had going was kind of boring. I wanted something fun, something light. And this is what I ended up with. I don't think I talked about this one much at all since it was so quick. I only listened to it for 2 hours. The entire audiobook is only like 4, and I listen at 2 times speed. And it is the second in the Monk and Robot series. The first one is A Psalm for the Wild Built. They're both by Becky Chambers. And it is about this person, who has decided that they don't like the job that they were doing. I think they were going to be a monk, maybe. I can't remember exactly what happens in the first book, and this synopsis is not great. But he ends up becoming a tea monk instead, and he goes on this pilgrimage out into the wilds, and he meets a robot. And in this world, the robots had decided, I don't remember how many years before, that they were no longer going to be involved with humans because they were really upset with the way that things were going and felt like humans needed to take some time and learn from their mistakes. This second one, I kind of think I liked more than the first one, but I felt like it was too short. I wish I had had more time with the characters for the second one. The next book that I finished was Dungeon Crawler Carl. I requested that my library buy this and then found out that it was on KU, which I have since canceled. I don't have KU anymore. But I read this on my Kindle while I was in Madison, Wisconsin. And this is the first in a series about a guy whose world gets taken over by aliens because they want to extract from the planet. And anybody who is in a building doesn't survive. All the buildings get crushed. Anyone who's outside of a building has the option to go into these dungeons that they created on the planet. And if somebody gets to level 18 in the dungeon, then they can have their planet back, essentially. I talked a lot about this in my vlog, I know for sure. If that vlog ever sees the light of day, if it doesn't, I'm sorry. You just don't get a review, I guess. But I really liked this one. I gave it 5 stars. Overall, this month was really good. I gave a lot of these things 5 stars. And I ended up replacing something in my Magical Readathon TBR with this because I didn't get to the book. The book I didn't get to was this one again. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. However, this time it's primarily my mom's fault because she wasn't ready to start our buddy read until now, April 30th. So I replaced that one for a 4-star read with Dungeon Crawler Carl because its average rating on Storygraph is 4.41. I really loved it. I'm planning to continue. I'm probably going to request physical copies from the library if they didn't buy the rest of the series. But I don't have KU anymore, so I'll have to read them physically instead of in an ebook format. And I'll go back to this. This was also on my Magical Readathon TBR for an all capital title. So that's half of my prompts fulfilled so far. After Dungeon Crawler Carl, I finished A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I don't think I talked about this one much. I was just kind of reading it in the background because I had it out from KU and I wanted to finish it before my KU was canceled. This one was okay. I gave it 3.5 stars. I liked all of it up until the epilogue, which I think actually ended up being almost a quarter of the book. This book is not long. It's 235 pages. And the epilogue was quite long, and I just didn't feel like I needed the epilogue. I don't think it added anything to the story for me. I guess I should back up and tell you what this is about. This is, I think, a Carmilla retelling. I have not read Carmilla, and I did not find it difficult to understand. It says it's a lyrical and dreamy reimagining of Dracula's brides. So, the main character, Constanta, has been married to Dracula. He turns her. I don't think they ever call him Dracula. I don't remember what they call him. I think they just refer to him as you because this book is written in like letters to this guy. And he keeps collecting partners, and it's almost always against the will of his other partners. So Constanta is his first wife in this book. I don't know if she's the first wife he's ever had, but she is the first wife that he takes in this book. And then shortly after, he takes another one. Constanta ends up falling in love with this wife. She falls in love with all of the other partners, but at the beginning, it's always against her will. Like, she never really wants him to take another partner. She's kind of jealous that they're bringing more people into their family. And then later on, it becomes apparent that this guy is never going to not be abusive. He is never going to want them to be happy. He's never going to give them freedom. And so they end up making a plot to kill him and escape. And I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I liked the prose. I liked the story up until the epilogue. I just felt like the epilogue wasn't needed and it really dragged. And since it was so much of the book, I felt like I was justified in taking so many stars off. I do like S.T. Gibson's writing. However, this is not the first time that a polygamous relationship has been in the book, and it has not been a consensual situation. So I don't necessarily love that. 3 more to talk about. This next one was the women's suffrage movement. This is a carryover from March. I wanted to read it during Women's Month, but didn't get to it. It is a collection of essays, and at the beginning of each chapter, it gives you an overview of the historical situation and where these essays and speeches were given. I learned a lot from this. I really enjoy is a weird word to use for this because this was a lot of really tough topics to listen to, but I learned a lot. And I think if you've read Unwell Women and you liked it but you wanted more, you should read this, because this definitely covers white feminism and the problems that white feminists created for other women during the women's suffrage movement. It details all of the different suffrage groups that were opposing each other, the different goals that people in the South had versus people in the North, and the conversation of if you're giving Black men the right to vote, what does that say about white women, essentially? If a Black man is considered more of a person than a white woman, where is the justification in that? And that was a big topic, obviously, during Reconstruction and, when slavery was abolished and all of that. So I learned a lot. The second to last book that I read was My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I talked about this quite a bit, so again, I won't give you the synopsis. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I really liked the premise, but I think I should maybe go back and reread it with the audio and the physical book at the same time, because I found myself getting lost while I was reading it physically, and then I found myself missing things when I was listening to it, but I never did the two together at the same time. So I feel like I missed some pretty big stuff at the end when I was listening. And then at the beginning, things were just kind of going over my head because I was struggling to get through the main character's monologues about slashers. Not because they were boring, but because I just had a lot of trouble following the stream of consciousness. I think this was written really well. I have another book by Stephen Graham Jones that I want to read as soon as possible. I think it's called The Only Good Indians. And then this is the beginning of a series. So I would really like to continue the series. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars. It was pretty good. This was one of the prompts for Magical Readathon. I can't remember exactly what it was right now. Yeah, I can't remember what this one was for, but it was for one of my prompts. And that means I only have one left. And that was My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix. I also gave this 4 stars. I read it really fast, so I haven't talked about it much. This was Grady Hendrix's 2nd or 3rd book, I think. And it was the first in the Charleston story arc. So there's this one, this one's set in the 80s. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires was set in the 90s, early 2000s, and then How to Sell a Haunted House was set in the 2010 kind of era. And these all, they weren't connected, they aren't a series, but they're all in a, the cinematic universe of Charleston, South Carolina. And in this one, 2 best friends are at some sleepover or something, and one of the best friends disappears in the middle of the night, and she doesn't come back for the entire night, and when she comes back, she's been possessed. We don't learn that right away, but it becomes pretty apparent based on her behavior that something has gone wrong. And I thought that this was pretty good. I will say that there is some pretty serious fat phobia in this, and I was willing to take a lot more stars off until I got to the end, and the fat phobia became part of the horror. So this is mild spoilers, so skip through this if you don't want to know anything about it. But one of the friends, Margaret, is, whenever they're talking about her, they're always talking about like how big her thighs are, how gigantic her shirt is because of how heavy she is, and stuff like that. And at the end, when like everything's coming to a head and the demon is doing its worst, the demon somehow convinces Margaret to become anorexic, and she's doing a lot of things to lose weight, a lot of things that are dangerous and incredibly unhealthy, and she almost dies in the book because of the things that she's doing. So the only reason I am willing to excuse this fat phobia is because of the role it ends up playing in the horror. If this did not happen in the horror plotline, I would not be willing to give this book 4 stars, and I honestly might consider not even reading from Grady Hendrix in the future. But I don't think that the fat phobia was just there for the heck of it. So, with that, these are the 5 physical books that I read this month. They all got 4 or 5 stars from me, and I have decided to keep all 5. So, that sucks for my shelves. However, I talked about this a little bit in the vlog clips that I, again, have yet to edit. We might be moving at some point in the very near future. And to prepare for that, I am returning a large chunk of books that I have from my mom that I know I'm not going to get to in the next few months. It takes, let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That takes 17 books off my shelves. So my read percentage has jumped up a lot because of that. I am taking them with me to Wyoming tomorrow and sending them home with my brother because he's driving out from Arkansas. We're having like a big cousins trip up in Jackson Hole. Not Jackson Hole, we're staying in Moran. And he and one of our other cousins decided to drive out with their partners instead of flying. So he's going to take a box of books home for me. These books are primarily Kathy Wright's and Diana Gabaldon books. I think I'm still like interested in them. I'm not getting rid of them because I don't want to read them. I just don't have time for them right now, and I don't want to move them if I can avoid it. So I'm getting rid of those. And then I also hauled 5 books. Ooh, this almost hit me. So Wild and Wrangled came out this month. I pre-ordered it. I haven't gotten to read it yet. I'm really upset about it. I'm taking it to Wyoming with me, so hopefully it'll get read in the next week. I got the Serviceberry. I've already read this one and decided to buy a copy because I liked it so much. Ooh, the back of this one's really cool. This doesn't have a dust jacket. It's just like a solid cover. And the back says, "All flourishing is mutual." Just a concept from the book. And then the Serviceberry and the next 2 books I'm going to show you, I picked up from Lake City Books in Madison, Wisconsin while I was at a conference. And Wild and Wrangled came from Barnes & Noble. I probably will not be buying from Barnes & Noble outside of what I've already pre-ordered, just because of some questionable business practices that I've learned about lately, and I would much rather support my indie bookstores anyways. So if you hear me say I bought something from Barnes & Noble, it was probably pre-ordered. But the other 2 books I got in Madison were Woodworm by Layla Martinez. I've heard a lot of good things about this one. I'm excited to get to it. And Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez. I have not read any of Abby Jimenez's other series. I have the first one that I borrowed from my mom. That's one I didn't return yet. But people told me that I can read this without reading that series. So I'm probably going to read this one first and then finally get to the one I borrowed from my mom at some point. And then the other big release that I was excited about this month was Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. I just read Happy Place last month before last, and I loved it so much. It was so good. Yeah, I need to leave in like 10 minutes, so we're gonna wrap this up. and then we'll do the journal wrap up later on. I just wanted to get this filmed today. My numbers went up to, so at the end of March, I owned 737 books and 253 of them were read based on my spreadsheet, which is as up to date as I can be right now. It's probably missing a few things, but not a lot. And then after the 5 books that I added and I think I said 17 or 19 books that I got rid of, I am down to 722 owned, and 259 of those are read, including the Serviceberry, one of the ones that I bought. So that brought my read percentage up from 34.33% all the way to 35.87%. We're getting there. We'll hopefully be by 40% by the end of the year. But yeah, I think I had some stats I wanted to share from Storygraph. So yeah, I read 9 books, bringing my total for the year to, I read 9 books and 3,313 pages in the month of April. And that brings my totals, it'll load, brings my totals up to 41 books for the year and 16,061 pages for the year. So it says that I'm 8 books behind on my goal, but I am only 377 pages behind. So I've read some bigger books this year, and like, if I don't get to 150, that's fine. The page goal was more important for me, primarily because I wanted to make sure I was like reading and getting through stuff. But if I happen to be reading bigger books and I don't make it all the way to 150 because of that, but I still meet my page goal, I'm pretty happy. So yeah, I know that I finished 1 series and I marked off 2 or 3 books for my 25 and 25. I think it was 3 or 4 actually. I made some good progress, but yeah. You will notice that I did not read my Evernight books. I did not have time. April ended up being so busy. I should have known this going in because I knew I had 2 conferences back to back, and it was also my birthday and a whole bunch of other stuff, and I feel like May is going to be the same way because I'm traveling the next 2 weekends for personal stuff, not for work this time. And then the week after that, we have a big event at work that's going to take up all of my time every single day. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working like 12 hours a day every single day that week, and then I also have stuff on Saturday that I have to do for work. So needless to say, I did take time off the next week, and I have a few other days planned throughout the next month or 2 just to stay at home, not for like any specific reason, but I am hoping to use those to catch up on my reading goals or like my crafting goals, or just being able to do what I want at home without having to be concerned about going to work. But yeah, Evernight will be my top priority for May. It's the first thing I'm going to read after I finish my buddy read with my mom. I do have a poetry collection that I think I'm going to try to read because my mom wanted it when I was done with it. I don't know if I'm going to do that right away or not. What I have to leave for is a book club, and I don't actually know what I'm bringing with me to read. So that'll be a fun decision to make in 5 minutes. But yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a good time listening to my books, and hopefully I have that vlog footage edited soon so that you can actually get good descriptions of the books. But yeah, I think that's it. I hope you're having a good day or night wherever you are, and if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. I read a lot of slashers and horror and thrillers this month, so maybe like a knife. Leave a knife emoji in the comments to tell me you stayed to the end, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, if you haven't already, like and subscribe. and I hope to see you again soon.